What is good, my pack rats? Pac-Man Case here. Today's episode is all about badass weapons. That's right, we're talking about sabers and blasters and swords and pistols and guns and other things that are weapons that I can't think of off the top of my head. There are no machetes on this list, so I apologize. If you're a huge fan of machetes, you've come to the wrong list. Guys, let's get into the most badass weapons in video games. Let's go.
That's what I expected.
I don't know if you guys were like me, but when I was a kid, I fell in love with the weapons characters we're using. I can specifically remember going to the movies with my dad to go see Batman and Robin. That's right, the George Clooney film. I watched it, and when I came home, I wanted to try to make every single Batman weapon that I could. I went into the bathroom, I pulled the toilet paper rolls, I grabbed cardboard, and I tried to make my own batarangs. I tried to make my own blasters. I was all about the weapons, and there is a reason that we love weapons. There is something sometimes that can make or break a game about how cool the weaponry is that is being used by those characters involved. These weapons sometimes, they can go from demonic to just super powerful. They can have really cool tech with them. Sometimes there's something very simple. Sometimes there's something really complicated, but above all, weapons sometimes are the coolest feature of a game and some of the reasons that I remember the characters in the first place. So let's find out who our combatants are, huh? Round one. Alright guys, first up we're going to be talking about pistols. Now at face value, pistols wouldn't be that cool in a video game, but when we're talking about these two characters, I think it's really hard not to assume that these are the most badass pistols created in video games. We are talking about Dante from Devil May Cry, and we're talking about the Demon Witch herself, Bayonetta. These two have some of the coolest pistol designs in all of gaming. First up, Dante has his ebony and ivory pistols. These are both custom-made pistols. They actually have different trigger guards. The pistols themselves have been designed separately so that you can use one for long range and one for short range, meaning one is more powerful while the other one just has a faster rate of fire. He's able to use demonic bullets that he can charge up and shoot as his enemies. Ebony and ivory pistols, still to this day, have to be one of the coolest guns. Now, those are rivaled by Bayonetta's pistols. Bayonetta has 4 pistols. She uses 2 in her hands and 2 on her feet. That is one of the coolest features of Bayonetta's pistols, is that she is able to trigger them hands and feet. Bayonetta uses the Scarborough Fair, and she actually names these guns Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. They hold the souls of fairies, which is what gives them their power in the first place for her to barrage into enemies. If you guys haven't played Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, you need to do it, but the question is, it's Ebony and Ivory versus the Scarborough Fair. Guys, tell me in the comments which one you think is the coolest, and that's our round one. Let's go to round two. So superheroes made their way on this list. Sometimes it's almost synonymous. They're gonna make their way into gaming, but these specific characters, I believe, have some of the coolest weapons ever in all of comics, including gaming, and that would be Batman's Batarang versus Captain America's shield. The first one up is Batman and his Batarangs. That's right, Bruce Wayne himself, the Dark Knight, has some of the coolest gadgets of all characters, and the Batarang is no exception. We're talking about a bat-bladed boomerang that comes back to him every time he throws it. It literally makes his way back to him. He can either stab his enemies, he can use it to cut things down. He's had various versions of the Batarang that give him all sorts of powers. There's a Batarang he can throw and it gives him like video feedback in, just like a drone. Batman's Batarangs still to this day are one of the coolest weapons. Against him, Captain America. Captain America and Captain America's shield has to be one of the coolest weapons that has been designed in not only comics, but as translated into video games. The shield literally defies physics. This shield will bounce off of 13 enemies at once. It will always return back to him. He's able to protect himself from some of the most powerful and energetic superheroes out there. Thor threw down his hammer and Captain America literally was able to deflect it with his vibranium shield. Batarang and Captain America's shield have to be one of the coolest weapons in video games. Which one do you guys think is better? Let's do it. Round 3. You guys like blasters, I like blasters. If you're gonna talk about two iconic characters that literally have some of the coolest blasters that I've ever seen, we're gonna need to talk about Mega Man and we're gonna need to talk about Samus. These two characters together have some of the coolest features of their blasters. Mega Man has had so many iterations of what his blaster can do. He gets charge shots from it. In different versions of Mega Man, he can convert his blaster into various different types of energy projectile beams and pellets and energy bullets, and Mega Man literally has one of the coolest blasters ever. His Mega Blaster is absolutely epic. Now, Metroid's arm cannon has to be one of the coolest weapons when it comes to versatility. As you play Metroid and you're going around in the game, you are literally collecting upgrades and power-ups for this cannon, which gives you opportunity to have stronger blasts, beams, you get missiles, you also get a cool energy grappling hook that you can use. Out of Samus's lore, there are so many cool things come out of this hand cannon, but the question is, do you guys think Mega Man's Mega Blaster or Samus's arm cannon is cooler? Write it in the comments below. I need to know. Round 4. Guys, if we're gonna talk about swords, there has been so many swords that have been in so many different games, so many cool iterations, but if you're gonna talk about like epic, iconic, giant ass swords, you cannot leave out Cloud Strife and Nightmare's Soul Edge. These two blades have to be some of the hugest, I don't even know if hugest is a word. It literally has to be so big. Both of these characters wield some of the heaviest weapons and they have some of the coolest designs. First up is the Buster Sword. Cloud's Buster Sword has to be one of the most iconic swords in video games. Funny enough, the sword itself doesn't have too many attributes aside from it just being a wielded melee weapon. Sometimes it can increase other attributes. There has been iterations where there is some type of magic tied to it, but very often it's literally just a giant ass broadsword with a sharpened side. But it is so iconic when you look at this sword. I feel like it might be the most famous sword in all of video games. It is rivaled though by one of the most iconic fighting games, and that would be Soul Calibur. The Soul Edge sword is so giant. It has some of the coolest powers. Basically killed so many people, it turned into this living, breathing, demonic weapon that curses people that touch it. And Siegfried, one of the characters from Soul Calibur, grabs the sword and turns into a demented character named Nightmare. This blade is able to literally destroy worlds. It has one of the grossest looks, has an eyeball dead center of it, and has had really cool iterations within the story. But I feel like the Soul Edge, if anything's gonna rival the iconicness of Cloud's Buster Sword, it literally has to be the Soul Edge sword. But yeah, I'm not making this decision. You guys are in the comments. Which one do you think wins in this contest? Let's keep it going. Next up, guys, we're gonna talk about the 3 sharp pointy objects, and that would be Wolverine's claws versus Raphael's size. Now, we're gonna start with Raph. Traditionally, sais are not sharpened. Traditionally, they were blunt instruments used for defense, but it does give Raphael the ability to switch between his offense and his defense very, very quickly. The sais actually are, not only are they meant for great defense, you can flip them and use them as bludgeoning instruments, or you can actually defend a sword, and if you're strong enough, you can break that sword with a sai. It has always been one of the coolest and most unique weapons out of the Ninja Turtles, in my opinion, and I believe it is something that really would be able to defend against most weapons, not to mention Raph is literally the best martial artist out of the Ninja Turtles. You can fight me on that. Next up is Wolverine. He's got 3 blades that are housed in his forearms that come up through his knuckles that he can individually control. This metal that he has in his body is pretty much indestructible and some of the sharpest metal literally known to man for the adamantium. Like adamantium. Adamantium? No, my God, I forgot how to say adamantium. I think I'm saying it right. Anyway, you've got a sai, you've got Wolverine's claws. Based on the iteration of the gameplay, sometimes Wolverine can cause energy waves by swiping his 2 claws together, which I think would give a benefit against the sais, but Raph is so good on his defense. I'm curious whether you guys think that Raph's sais or Wolverine's claws would be able to win this fight. Put it in the comments below. Let's keep going. Round 6, we are getting into chains and Sharpie weapons. Now, when I say Sharpie weapons, I mean a blade and I mean a spear attached to chains that can be controlled by its user. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, I'm talking about Scorpion from Mortal Kombat and Kratos from God of War. These 2 weapons to this day have been some of the most iconic in gaming franchise history. Scorpion's kunai has literally been one of the coolest weapons that has been created in most of fighting games, and it's so simple. It is literally a blade that is attached to either a rope or a chain commonly, and he has, in different iterations of the games, different control out of it. Now, if you want to get into the movies, they actually depicted it as like a demon, like snake spawn that came out of his hands that he could independently control. That would make it even cooler. But to keep it as just a blade attached to a chain that he is able to drag his opponents over there. I remember the very first time you ever did it in a game, you felt like you had so much more control over getting close to your opponents, and there's something about Scorpion's spear that is just epic. If you're gonna rival Scorpion's spear, then in comes Kratos and his Blades of Chaos. These have been some of the most cool and iconic weapons in all of video games. Not only is the power-up system incredible for Kratos, as he can add anything from fire to ice to electricity, all sorts of things run through these blades, but they are bound to his arms due to the curse that happens in the games, which then makes it pretty much part of him, which I think is kind of interesting that Scorpion also is depicted as having this be part of him. Story time, most people when the Mortal Kombat game came out thought that Scorpion had it come out of his palm because there was restrictions in the animation style. It was never supposed to be the case. I'm glad it happened though, because now we've got a really cool lore out of it. Back to Kratos. Kratos' blades are fantastic. He can twirl them up in a tornado. He can bring his opponent up in the air via uppercut. But as much as I gush over Kratos' blades, you guys gotta tell me, is Scorpion's spear or Kratos' blades more badass? Comments, do it, go. Next. All right, folks, we have landed at the last weapon battle, and I saved what I think is some of the best for last, especially when it comes to ingenuity on these weapons. They're nothing special at first, but when you combine what they do with the weapons, it becomes absolutely epic. And I am talking about the Lancer from Gears of War versus the Gunblades of Final Fantasy. Now, we'll start with Final Fantasy. Now, I just held up Lightning. Lightning has a gunblade, but where it was introduced was Final Fantasy VIII with Squall. Squall had one, and it was cool, but it actually didn't shoot projectiles. When he shot his pistol that was attached to his giant sword, it only vibrated the blade to help him with his melee attacks. They upped the ante when they moved to the gunblades of Lightning in Final Fantasy XIII, and it really has some of the coolest mechanisms to it. Not only does the blade fold in on itself to create it more of a pistol, but then she can turn it back into a blade and use it as a melee attack, and it is literally one of the coolest design blades you will ever see. Now, if you're going to rival something as cool as Lightning's gunblade, then you've got to bring on the Lancer from Gears of War. The very first time any of us saw this stuff, we were just blown away. It is literally an assault rifle with a chainsaw attached to it. What a cool concept and idea. This gun literally almost made the game banned. That's how epic this weapon is the game was almost banned entirely because of a freaking weapon. But who is gonna win the battle? Do you think that the Lancer with a chainsaw attached to it, or Lightning's gunblade is cooler? It's up to you guys in the comments to give me something on all of these. Let me know who you think not would win in a battle, but whose weapon do you think was more epic, more badass, the coolest of the cool, in the comments below. Guys, I gotta kick some honorable mentions. These are ones that I just couldn't fit into the list, even though they are super cool. Number one, I gotta talk about the proton cannon that Iron Man uses. That is the most epic special move I have ever seen. His proton cannon fills up the entire screen. It is scary as hell. He's holding it with one hand. War Machine has the same one, and it is absolutely epic. I also didn't get No More Heroes with the beam katana. I thought it was really cool, and I would have put it up against a lightsaber, but I'm sorry. I'm assuming a lightsaber wins every time. If you guys disagree with that, let me know in the comments below. If there was ones that we missed from this list that you guys wanted in there too, throw them in there. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like what I got going on, you like my silly ass content, guys, hit that subscription button for me. Hit the notification bell, because I am convinced at this time YouTube hates me and does not share these fun ass videos with anybody else except for my pack rats. So share it with your friends. Let them know, hey mom, you want to know about cool video game weapons? You should watch this video. You don't have to do that. That would be awkward to do with your mom over Thanksgiving dinner, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys listening. And until we do another Pac-Man creation, take care. Later.